Days passed, but Glory couldn't forget what happened. The letter. The visit. The memories. Even though Madame Ike was gone, the pain she caused still lived inside her. Sometimes at night, Glory would stare at the ceiling and ask herself, will we ever be free from her shadow? But Nancy was healing faster. She laughed more, ran with other children, and ate till her belly was full. Obi had even enrolled her in a good school nearby. Glory would stand by the gate, watching her little sister go off in her neat uniform, her smile like sunshine. One evening, after dinner, Glory sat with Obi in the quiet backyard. The sky was purple with stars. A cool breeze moved the trees gently. Why did you really bring us here? She asked him again. Her voice was soft, but the question was sharp. You could have helped from a distance, but you didn't. You brought us into your life. Obi looked at her, his eyes gentle but serious. Because I saw you in myself. Glory blinked. What do you mean? Obi leaned back, his voice low. My own stepmother treated me the same way. When my mother died, my father remarried. That woman made my life hell. I was locked in storage rooms, beaten, starved. Until one day, I ran away. I survived on the streets for 2 years before my father's brother found me. He paused. That's why I went to the village. I wanted to understand life better again. I didn't want to become like my father. Rich, but blind. Glory's heart hurt as he spoke. She had never imagined Obi had pain too. His quiet strength made more sense now. I don't want pity, he said. I just want to help people who remind me of that little boy I used to be, and the brave girl you are. Tears slid down Glory's cheeks, and for the first time, she didn't hide them. No one's ever called me brave before. But you are, Obi whispered. You saved your sister with empty hands and a full heart. That night, Glory didn't cry in bed. For the first time, she slept like someone who was not afraid of tomorrow. But deep in the village, Madame Ike was planning something else. The house was quiet, wrapped in sleep. Glory and Nancy were fast asleep in their soft bed, the moonlight slipping gently through the curtains. The whole mansion felt like a calm dream. But far away in the shadows, something dark was moving. Madame Ike hadn't forgotten the gate that slammed in her face. Or the guard who walked her out like a stranger. Her shame had turned into rage. She couldn't believe those girls, those same ones she starved and shouted at, now lived in a place that rich. She thinks she's better than me, Madame Ike hissed to herself as she crouched near the fence. I'll teach her a lesson. Both of them. She had come with a small bottle of fuel and a box of matches. Her plan was simple, start a fire outside and make everyone panic. She didn't want to hurt them badly, just enough to scare them and shake their new life. But wicked plans never go as planned. She poured the fuel near the back fence and struck a match. Flames rose quickly, faster than she thought. The dry grass caught fire and spread like lightning. Within seconds, the fire grew too big. Madame Ike gasped and stumbled back, her plan falling apart in front of her. Inside the house, the smoke alarms began to scream. Lights turned on. Guards ran. Obi was the first to reach the garden. Fire! Everyone outside, he shouted. Glory woke up coughing. She grabbed Nancy and rushed out barefoot. Outside, they watched as the flames ate the back fence and tried to climb up a storage shed. But the guards were quick. They used water hoses, sand, and teamwork. Within minutes, the fire was controlled. The house was safe. Then one of the guards called out, "We found someone." Madame Ike was hiding near a tree, trying to escape. Obi's face darkened. "Take her to the police." Glory didn't say a word. She just held Nancy's hand tighter. The next morning, the news spread, Madame Ike had been arrested for arson. Nancy asked, will she come back? Glory knelt beside her. Not anymore. She made her choice. Now we get to make ours. But Glory still couldn't shake one thought, how close they came to losing everything again. 2 weeks after the fire, Madam Ike was taken to court. Glory and Nancy sat in the back of the courtroom beside Obi. Glory held her sister's hand the whole time. The room was full of people from the township who had once ignored their suffering. Now, they stared in silence, watching Madam Ike in handcuffs. She looked different. Her wrapper was old and loose. Her face was pale. But her eyes still burned with anger. The judge read the charges: attempted arson, endangerment, and trespassing. Madam Ike tried to defend herself. I didn't mean to hurt anyone. I was just angry. They left me. They owe me respect. The judge frowned. You gave away a girl like a bag of rice. You sent threats. You came with fire. That is not love. That is cruelty. Glory was asked to speak. She stood up slowly, her voice shaking. For years, she made us work like servants. I gave up food for my sister so she could survive. I left with a stranger because I had no choice. But today, I do have a choice. Everyone leaned forward. I don't want revenge. I just want peace. I want my sister to grow without fear. I want to forget hunger. I want to forgive, but I don't want her near us again. The judge nodded. That is wise. She will not be allowed near you again. She will be punished according to the law. As the guards led Madam Ike away, she didn't scream. She just looked back at Glory and said, "You see, one day, you need me." Glory didn't answer. She just turned and walked out of the courtroom with Nancy beside her. Outside, reporters waited. People clapped. Some cried. But Glory didn't feel like a hero. She felt like someone who had finally put down a heavy bag she had been carrying since childhood. That night, she sat with Obi in the garden. It's over, she said. Obi nodded. Now your new life can begin. Glory looked up at the stars. I don't even know who I am without pain. You're about to find out, Obi said, smiling. And that's when she knew her story was just beginning. 2 months later, the air around Glory felt lighter. There were no more threats, no more fear. Madam Ike had been sentenced and taken far away. The court order made sure she could never come near them again. Every morning now started with peace. Nancy wore her new school uniform, clean and shining, and waited at the gate for the school driver. Glory made her lunch and kissed her cheek. This simple life felt like magic to them both. But the biggest change was inside Glory. She was no longer the girl who hid bruises or forced a smile for her sister. She was stronger. She stood tall now, not just because of Obi, but because she finally believed she deserved happiness. One afternoon, Obi called her and Nancy to the garden. They sat beneath the mango tree that had become their favorite spot. I've been thinking, he said gently, you've been living here, but this house, this life. I want it to be yours too. Glory looked confused. It already feels like home. Obi reached into his pocket and pulled out a small brown envelope. Inside was a legal document. He handed it to her. It's a business registration form, he said. I heard you say you once dreamed of running a kitchen. This land, this home, you can start something here. Something that's yours. Glory's hands trembled. I never thought someone like me could dream again. You're not the girl from that old house anymore, Obi said softly. You're the woman who walked through fire and carried her sister the whole way. Nancy leaned into her sister and whispered, you're our hero. That night, after dinner, Obi stood in front of the family and staff. He cleared his throat and looked directly at Glory. I've seen the worst part of your story. Now, I want to be part of your best. From his pocket, he pulled out a small silver ring. Not because you need saving, but because I want to walk beside you, if you let me. Tears ran down Glory's face, but this time they were full of joy. Yes, she said. The crowd clapped. Nancy screamed and hugged them both. Glory had walked through fire, hunger, pain, and shame. But now she stood tall, loved, respected, and free. Moral of the story: sometimes the people who hurt you the most teach you how to love yourself the deepest. Real family isn't always who you're born to, it's who stands beside you when the world turns dark. Kindness, strength, and love can break every chain. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share. Let's keep telling stories that heal, inspire, and remind us that even after pain, hope can rise.